call the meeting to order. Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Misty, I'd ask if you call the roll, please.
David Burris, Ray Eckerby,
Present.
Bill Lukens,
Here.
Bob Nelson,
Here.
Ron Richards,
Here.
Allison Rearbush, Craig Romey,
Present.
Caitlin Turner. Here. Thank you.
We do have a quorum. Our first item is to adopt the agenda for this evening. I'd ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve the agenda. Are there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The agenda is approved. And again, I remind the council, if there is any item on the agenda tonight that we'll be voting for that you have a conflict of interest, please notify the entire council before voting. We have in your packages minutes from the November 18th council meeting. I'd accept a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of November 18th, 2019.
Second. Been moved and seconded to approve those minutes. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The minutes are approved. You have in your packages claims. The first is bills in between for $103,007.75. I'd ask for a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve bills in between for $103,007.75.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve those bills in between. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Bills in between are approved. You have in your current claims, we do have one change on, I believe it's page 1, the Custer County bill for the Zerker system. We are not going to pay that until next year under previous agreement. So there will be $2,539.61 removed from those current claims, bringing up a new total for approval of $93,821.31. I'd ask for a motion to approve the claims for $93,821.31.
Make a motion to approve current claims of $93,821.31.
Second. Been moved and seconded to approve those current claims. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The current claims are approved. We also have a list of Wells Fargo credit card charges for $5,005.08. Accept a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the Wells Fargo credit cards for $5,205.08.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve those credit card charges. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? They are approved. Next item on the agenda is communications from the public. Are there any communications from the public? Seeing none, we'll move on to quarterly updates. We have with us tonight Olivia Mears from the Hot Springs Chamber of Commerce. Olivia.
Hello. Okay. Good evening, Mayor Coddy, esteemed council members, city officials, members of the community. Thank you for inviting me to give the Chamber of Commerce fourth quarter report. This has been another good year for the Chamber, and I would like to thank everybody who participated in events, supported efforts to promote Hot Springs, and I'd specifically like to thank Mayor Coddy and the City Council, as well as staff at City Hall, and city personnel for all the assistance and support they give the Chamber throughout the year. I'll briefly go over the various committee reports. On the tourism front, we saw decent numbers during the peak season, although we are a little bit down from last year. From May to September, we had around 8,000 visitors sign in at the Depot Visitor Centre. Now, we know the numbers are higher than this, but these numbers are gathered from people signing the guest book, and there are still more travellers who plan on their own and don't stop in at the visitor centre. We are now in what's generally seen as the quiet time of year, but we are already busy planning for next year. With the help of the bid board, we'll again be participating in the matching funds program with South Dakota Tourism, which turns our $40,000 into $80,000 with a match from the state. Lawrence and Schiller will again be the agency handling the campaign. We have renewed our membership with the regional partner, Black Hills and Badlands Tourism Association, and we have already placed a double-page ad in the South Dakota Vacation Guide. We also continued our partnership with the other Southern Hills Chambers of Custer, Keystone, and Hill City to produce the Southern Hills Vacation Guide with Evergreen Media. And aside from the Hot Springs section's content, we also have a 2-page ad running in this magazine. I will again be attending the Governor's Conference on Tourism in January, and I always look forward to this extremely beneficial conference as I learn a lot about what the industry is doing, as well as what South Dakota Tourism is going to do in marketing the state. We are hoping to see a good tourism season for 2020, and we just hope the weather cooperates and we have a better start to the season than we did this year. Regarding agriculture, in this quarter we sponsored a meal for the Conservation Day at Whitney Preserve for 7th graders and provided and served 2 meals for 4-H families at the county fair. We also held the Ag Banquet a few weeks ago in November. This year the Ag Committee wanted to hold the dinner at the Red Rock River Resort and serve a prime rib dinner and have a band. We ordered 190 meals based on RSVPs and had an attendance of about 157 people. The Chamber Board decided that this year would be the last Ag Banquet, as attendance has dropped a lot over the years and it gets harder to ask for sponsorships with diminished attendance. We are very grateful for the work the Ag Committee did this year, and there is a group that is talking of taking up the Ag Dinner. Should this come to fruition, we will sponsor their efforts, but it will no longer be a Chamber event. Going forward, we will continue to support Ag and offer the Ag Scholarship, but we're looking to give more support to Youth Ag. Retail and business promotions. This weekend we have the Downtown Cookie Cruise, the Christmas Cookie Cruise, coming up on Friday as part of Christmas in the Hills celebration. And this past Saturday was Small Business Saturday, and we were hoping to show our support to our local retailers with coffee and cake and a photo op, but sadly the weather worked against us and we thought it was prudent to postpone the event. So our cake and coffee and photo will now take place this Friday at 3:30 at Chautauqua Artisans Market, and I'm inviting everyone to attend to take a fun photo and show support for our local retailers. Well, all the business, not just the retailers. Some folks had already planned to join us, so hopefully we'll have a good turnout. And there is going to be a lot on the go this Friday. We're going to be quite abuzz with activity. The Cookie Cruise takes place between 4 and 7, but that also gives folks plenty of time to visit local businesses and eat cookies, as well as attending the tree lighting, singing carols, watch the parade, say hi to Santa and Mrs. Claus as Christmas in the Hills kicks off this weekend. So get in some good shopping. And finally, our ambassadors meet every month on the second Friday to welcome new businesses to town, congratulate existing businesses on longevity, welcome new owners or managers, and in general just celebrate various events that take place in the business community. And we're always excited when a new business moves to town, so I would urge you to please try and attend the grand opening of Bongars on Friday morning. The ribbon cutting takes place at 11 a.m. So if you are able, do please turn out and show them support. And also, if you'd like to be on the ambassador email to make the monthly visits and welcome people, etc., do please give us a shout and we'll add you to the email list. And that's basically a brief overview of the last quarter. We're looking forward to a great 2020, and I will outline more of our marketing plan at the first quarter update. Also, I would like to invite you to please attend the Chamber's Christmas soiree that takes place on the 20th at the Mueller Centre right here from 4 to 7. Do please join us for some eats and treats and Christmas cheer. And also on that note, please let me take the opportunity on behalf of the Chamber Board of Directors, my staff and myself to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and a very happy, healthy, fun and safe New Year. Thank you.
Thank you, Olivia. Just a couple of questions. South Dakota Tourism, how are their numbers this year? Is it down throughout the state and our region?
Not really. Some places did catch up. And I'm going on the gross receipts. We had a very bad July. We caught up a little bit. We're still on what we used to call the LLD. We're still down slightly. For tourism throughout, it is actually up by a hair, except for national park visits. They're quite down, but that's because of the elevators at Wind Cave, Jewel Cave, and all the road workery and fixing at Mount Rushmore. Now, the good news with Rushmore is that the worst part, which is the Avenue of the Flags, got attacked this year. So next year, they don't have to worry about that. They've got other stuff to do. At one of the Black Hills and Badlands board meetings, the new gentleman, I forgot his name, came and did give us a complete overview. And I do have those slides there of his presentation. If anybody wanted them, I'll dig them out and send them. Because it does show the various different stages of the fixing and the upgrading at Rushmore. But the worst piece, which was going towards the mountain down the avenue, has been taken care of.
That looks, you know, and notice that our liquor, lodging, and dining was down about 4,000, and
Yeah.
the rest of our tax receipts were up considerably.
Yeah.
And I guess I attributed that to the Wind Cave closure partially. Do you have any information from them as to when that elevator will be fixed? I was told just recently that they're waiting spare parts.
Yeah, apparently there's only 2 contractors that work on that elevator, Otis and the other guy. It's not a case of negligence or lack of caring, but they did order a part that was incorrect. I think Wally spoke to Vidal Davila recently from Wind Cave. They say it'll all be up and running by next season, by March. I'm going to just have to hope for that. But Wally did say, you know, we could write a letter, but the board discussed and said, you know, while people are on the case, let's leave them do their thing. If it looks like there's slackery, then we will jump up and say, hey, please, you know, it's killing our tourism. But it looks like it's on task to be fixed.
Okay. And again, if you hear any different about writing a letter,
Yes.
or something that would help maybe spur some more interest or activity in that area, getting that fixed, even during the winter. You know, there's people, I think, that can go visit Wind Cave and make their way down here to Hot Springs. It doesn't snow very much down in the cave, I'm told.
Yeah.
So you know, it's a good year-round attraction, and we'd sure like to see that elevator get fixed. So.
Yeah, and also with Jewel Cave had elevator problems. So it did really take out a lot of the travel around here. And hopefully now we can pick that up again next year. But I will keep you appraised on the elevator situation and the Rushmore. I'm going to send Misty the slides of what they outlined as the plan.
Great.
And any info I get, I can, pardon me, I can just pass across.
Okay, well, thank you. Any of you have any questions or comments concerning the chamber? Thank you, Olivia. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Don, from our library, you're up. And you know, Don, tonight we don't have a hearing, so you can just go straight through.
All right. Well, thank you all for having me. I enjoy coming and talking to you about what we're doing at the library. I'm going to start off with the bad news, like there's ever any bad news at the library. But we did have a breakdown in our heating system the last couple weeks in October. After calling, a handful of people and getting a lot of no's, I finally got Tessiers to come down and look at it. They did have to replace several parts in the main pump. And then a couple of the smaller pumps for the underfloor heating. While they were there, I said, fix whatever needs done in one loop, so they did that. The estimate on that was about $2,000. I have not received a final bill. I'll have that taken care of before the end of the week because it's getting to be the end of the year. So I'm hoping that that doesn't mess with my budget too badly. The other bad news is that I had quite a turnover of staff in the last 6 weeks, which you all have seen the resignations. There were 4 of us that had been here for 3, 5, 6, and 13 years, and the bottom 3 left to pursue different life, which left me really itching for a couple of nights, but I have found a couple of wonderful replacements. The part-time person that I had hired, Brenda, she's come up to a full-time children's librarian position. She's doing wonderful, and on that note, I would like to have Misty put in the minutes for, or the agenda for the next meeting to see if we could approve her for assistant librarian position. I hired
Assistant library director?
Yes, whatever that official title is, assistant librarian, that Amy left empty. I hired a nice young woman to work the front desk. She just is like snip snap. She caught on to the technicalities of it, and she has wonderful customer service skills. We're real excited to have her working up there. And I had hired someone for that part-time position to finish out the year. This leaves me with 1 full-time position that I still need to fill. For a couple of reasons, I haven't done that yet. One being, I already had 3 employees to train, and I didn't want to throw a 4th one in there just quite yet. And the other one is, I'm not quite sure of my budget situation at this point with having to do some payouts for vacations and everything. But I intend on having that position filled coming into the year or the first week in January so that we'll be full staff again whenever the new year starts. On to some better news. We did our Food for Fines this November, and we were really excited to say that we took $700 off the books in overdue fines, and we collected approximately 245 pounds of groceries that the food bank has come and collected. So they'll be able to hand that out over the holiday season. They sure appreciate us doing that, and our patrons sure like a way to pay off their fines other than cash on the table. We've got, as the fall started, we continued with our Thursday and Friday story times. We've got Friday movies, the Legos, the Makerspace, the game night, or the game evening on Fridays. We've completed an 8-week course in the coding class and had, let me count them, 6 or 7 young people finish that class. We're going to start that up again the first Tuesday in January. And I've continued to do an outreach program with the Seven Sisters Nursing Home. I go once a month and do a historical program for them, about an hour long. They really enjoy me coming in and talking to them and showing them. It's always about hot springs, so I always get a lot of conversation from the people there about, oh, I remember, and I did this and I did that. So I always enjoy going to the nursing home and visiting with them. The last 2 things I have are the Friends of the Library have confirmed that they're going to order new Every year they replace a third of our computers, so they're going to replace a third of the computers in the library. So that's on order. That's approximately $9,000-some hundred, so it's a $10,000 donation for computers that the Friends of the Library are going to take care of. And last but not least, Santa Claus will be at the library. Mrs. Claus is going to bring him in on October 10th from 6 to 7 in the evening. It's a Tuesday evening. So be sure to bring all the little ones in to visit with Santa. And the Friends of the Library always purchase books to give out to the kids that evening. So does anyone have any questions?
Sorry. GNR Controls has a service contract with the heating system at the library. Were they not able to come up and give a quote or assess the machines they service?
I called them for a quote, and they said they couldn't get there for a week or so. So I just kept calling people. Their service contract is to keep the filters and the belts and check everything a couple times a year and keep all that stuff replaced. If we call them to do any work,
They still charge us.
it's above and beyond the service contract. So,
Right. Thanks.
yeah, no, when I called them, they weren't able to get there for 7 to 10 days.
And 1/3 of your computers, did you say that was about 7 to 9 of them? Yeah. And will Black Hills Technology be installing and setting those up for you?
Yes.
Again this year? Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
And the Friends of the Library are paying for their bill as far as setup and all the work that they do is part of the $10,000.
He's billing them separately this year?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
it's not billed as part of the library's computer monthly service.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Well, thank you, Dawn. No,
Thank you.
it's been a little turmoil up there with the lack of people, but glad you're getting the positions filled.
We are.
Right. Yeah, we move on to next item on our agenda is personnel. And we've got 2 items there, A and B. I'd accept a motion to approve those personnel actions.
I make a motion to approve personnel actions A through B.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve personnel actions. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Those are approved. Moving on to committee reports, administrative and finance. Bob and Caitlin.
Admin Finance met at City Hall today at 1 o'clock. Mayor was present. Bill, Caitlin, John, Misty, and Allison. A couple updates on old business. Pete Lean and Sons Mining contract. Still in discussions with Bureau of Land Management to get a plan coordinated with Pete Lean and Sons on how that mining will take place. Talked about the city's website, so if you folks have had a chance to take a look at it and see if the changes have been implemented, how you feel about those. Everybody that was there today agreed that we're just giddy about the ordinances that are now online. If you don't look at anything else on the website, take a look at that and see how much better it is and how much easier it is to find out information on the city. The search function is just phenomenal. It should be a lot easier for folks to figure out what's happening with the city. We talked a little bit about the peddlers, solicitors, and transit merchant ordinance that's in front of you folks tonight. We didn't have any significant changes to that. We'll, I believe, discuss a little more as that comes up as an agenda item. The mayor shared with us that he's going to be meeting with the county officials to begin just very preliminary discussions about how delinquent properties are handled from a county standpoint. We We also talked about some surplus property. It's across from the Hot Brook Pumping Station. Possibility of it's not surplus property currently, it's property the city has, and about whether it makes sense to surplus that property. What was pointed out to the group is though the property may not be large, it really does provide a safety benefit to the city because it's across from our pumping station out there, and the property that would be surplused is higher than the pumping station, and it's in the county. The county has no zoning ordinances, so if it was in the hands of a private developer or a private owner, they could do whatever they want with that property. And if they were to put a sewer system in out there, no guarantees about where that septic is going to end up. And the close proximity to the pumping station raises concern about jeopardizing our city water. I imagine there's going to be some disagreement with that, but when we weigh the potential revenue to the city versus the safety of the city's, one of the city's water supply, the group didn't feel that surplusing that property was the right decision to make. We were also asked to look at surplusing some property from the police department, and that discussion will continue in a smaller group that will involve the police department. The council member that actually raised the question, and Bill Lukens is going to set up a meeting to discuss that. We didn't discuss that one any further. Misty reviewed, we reviewed the 2020 resolutions, wage scale resolution, official newspaper and banks for the city, and then the part-time seasonal hourly rates of pay that will be in front of you folks, the first meeting in January. We talked about the 2019 Hain revenue that's been uncollected. The contract for that Hain, the due date for that contract was for the hay to be removed by the end of August. It has been removed. Misty and Ed have talked with the person that cut the hay. It's already been sold, but they haven't been paid for it, which means the city hasn't been paid for it. That should have happened in August or September, so the committee agreed that we should hand that off to our city attorney and see what you're able to do for us to get the money collected for that. We also talked about the 2020 grazing contract. Currently the contract is for about 150 acres, all-inclusive around the airport. Looking into doing a request for proposal to break that 150 acres into one request for proposal, but containing two areas. What would be referred to as a Lot A or a Lot B. One is more favorable to hay than the other, but to break it up and see if we can't increase revenue by breaking it up into two areas. We also looked at the final Fair Labor Standards Act. I believe that's the correct name for it. Overtime rule that becomes effective in January 1st of 2020, and how that could potentially affect some of the employees in the city. So we'll continue to follow that. Anything else, folks? All right. The next admin finance meeting, I don't have the date, but it'll be the first Monday in January that coincides with the council meeting. 1 o'clock at City Hall.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Airport Advisory Committee, Bill.
The Airport Advisory Committee met on Thursday, November 21st at 8 a.m. at the airport. Present were John, the mayor, myself, Ed and Tracy, and 3 members of the committee. We also talked about the unpaid hay contract and also the pasture lease. The committee also reviewed the hangar rate updates for the overall fee schedules. The committee did concur with the new hangar rates and provided that input. We did have a new resident to the area, came out and talked with Ed about, he'd expressed some interest in building a hangar for a helicopter. And because of the unique conditions that helicopters create, we determined that we need to establish a designated area for rotary wing aircraft. And a result of that, we'll be contacting KLJ to see if we need to update the airport master plan and add a designated area for rotary wing aircraft. Mayor also provided an update that he received from the BLM on the mining contract. And regarding November flight operations, we had 175 flight operations, and we've sold 537 gallons of aviation fuel. And our next meeting, I think, will be, December 26th, 8 a.m. at the airport.
Okay, thank you. Custer Fall River Regional Waste Management District, Ron.
Next meeting will be the 9th of January 2020, 7 p.m. at the Mueller Civic Center.
Downtown Historic Preservation Commission, Craig.
We're supposed to have a meeting Wednesday the 4th at 5 p.m. at the library. We're going to discuss the Walsh Hope building. They'd like to have John there, Scott.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on to Evans Plunge Advisory Committee, Allison.
Next meeting is December 12th at noon at the Plunge.
Okay. And Dave is not here. I believe he's snowed in Omaha. Planning and Zoning Commission, Allison.
Planning and Zoning met Wednesday, November 20th. First order of new business was permit fees. All fees were looked at and discussed as a whole. The rezoning map amendment and text amendment were discussed, and fees were debated on how to approach the cost to be fair with the actual work involved and with the amendment work. It was decided to separate the text item from the map amendment, as it is possible to have a text amendment without a map amendment. So it was decided to have a $200 fee for a text amendment and a $350 fee for the map amendment. Typically there would be a request, so the total city administrative charges would be $550. Ordinance modification, this technically should be under old business because we talk about the primary structure and the ratio to that for accessory buildings being subordinate. So this continues to be something that Planning and Zoning's been talking about. A subordinate building, there was a short discussion regarding for a clear understanding of the ordinances and a nationwide trend to have accessory buildings on residential property that are actually larger than the principal residence. So at this point, our ordinance does not allow a structure to be larger than the principal ordinance. And as I've said in other meetings, that there continues to be discussions about because of the movement towards having RVs and boats and different things, that we have quite small residences here, but people want to be able to cover some of these larger vacation RVs that they have. There is no recommendation still at this point with that, but they still continue to discuss that. Okay, let's see. Use permit on reviews. There was discussion about the true definition and purpose of a use on review, and when a variance will achieve the results to accommodate the needs of a citizen. A building allowed on a use on review could lead to future problems if and when the use on review permit is removed. A variance is a permanent modification. Let's see. And alley vacating, there was discussion about the alley and the ongoing changes being made by the trailer park owner. This is the Rolling Homes by the /City Waterfield. Scott has been working with them for the last year and a half. The State Department of Transportation recently removed the approach and eliminated the access to the alley from the highway. The result might be the best to create an easement to allow access for the utilities and a future control of the land. Okay, there's no new update on the Hot Springs Industrial Park, no discussion about the Winia property water lines. There has been a couple discussions regarding some rezoning to mixed use, but the owners had decided not to do anything with that area, so it's been tabled. Mammoth site update, Preston is expecting to have his drawings from the WTC Rapid City on 11/22. He should have his proposal to City Hall next week. I don't know if we've heard that. Let's see. The Armory building, brief discussion about the demolition, the asbestos roof, and the future building sites of Butler Park to use. Demolition could be quite expensive. They did decide to move our winter meetings to 6 p.m. So our next meeting will be December 18th at 6 p.m. at City Hall.
Okay, thank you, Allison. Public safety, Bill?
Public safety met on Wednesday, November 20th at 1 p.m. at City Hall. Present were the mayor, Bob, myself, Chief Close, Captain Wakeman, John, Steve Alexander, and 3 members of the public. Under old business, we've still got one review meeting we want to have with County Emergency Manager to run the flood plan by before we submit that to the Army Corps of Engineers. For the past several months, we've been talking about, we've been doing an evaluation or an assessment regarding concerns about the fire siren. I'll not read you the entire report, but some of the concerns were regarding when the fire siren goes off, will it cause folks that are suffering from PTSD to have, will that trigger an event? Bob and I met with folks at the state home and at the VA. We've also talked with Fall River County dispatchers and with our own PD folks, and basically we found no evidence that folks are having adverse reactions to the siren. In fact, the people at the VA said they actually use it as a therapeutic tool to help the folks learn to deal with stressors. Some of them even said, yeah, it bothers me, but I need to learn how to deal with it. So that was our biggest concern when that was brought forth, is are we causing problems? And one of the things that we learned is that whatever we came up with, we are only a recommend, all we can do is recommend, because we don't own the fire department and the siren isn't really ours. So we've gathered data. The fire department uses cell phone text to notify their people. I think some of the fire officers have radios, and so they get a page. Because they have the cell phone text, they have the system called I Am Responding, so they can reply to the text. So dispatch can see, and then on a screen at the fire station, they can see how many firefighters are actually responding to the notification, which gives them a real good idea. Do I need to keep trying to notify the folks, or is everybody coming to the party? That system is working better all the time. There are some other issues with the technology out there, but basically the feeling is we still need the siren. The fire department is certainly not willing to say, yeah, we can get rid of it at this time. And so, bottom line, it does provide a benefit, we believe. We certainly understand that it is disturbing to some folks. We understand that. We also understand that it is a bit alarming to tourists that don't understand what it's about. That's also an opportunity maybe for us to work with Olivia and some of the other folks that generate information to our tourists, that we can improve the way we communicate with our tourists. So Bottom line, at this point in time, we're not, from public safety, we're not prepared to give a recommendation to discontinue using the siren. We appreciate the folks from the community that have expressed a concern about the siren. They've given us noise measurements, and we've addressed the concerns regarding the decibel measurements that they've provided us. And so, again, at this point in time, there's no recommendation to discontinue the use of the siren. And if anybody from the council is interested, I'll certainly be happy to email you the report that we put together. So that item is off our old business at this point in time. Next item of old business was regarding funding sources for a school resource officer. Various members of the committee have been investigating potential sources and options, and we'll be reviewing our findings at our January 16th meeting and start talking about that in earnest. Again, don't know if we'll be able to do that, but we'll start throwing around the ideas or seeing if we can put some numbers to the ideas that we've come up with. Under new business, John informed the committee that a handicap ramp will be installed at the Evans Plunge. Next, we discussed the proposed change to the Parks and Recreation Ordinance with a new number of 92.12A. And once we have concurrence from Parks and Recreation Committee, we'll have the city attorney review this proposed change and then submit it to this council for review. And what this revision deals with, it will be a prohibition of possessing or consuming all types of alcohol at Brookside Park. Right now, you can drink beer or wine at our city parks. And what's happening, especially at Brookside Park, is the level of intoxication and possession of alcohol is turning that park into a family unfriendly location. We've gathered quite a bit of data over the summer, and we believe that the data we've gathered justifies the prohibition of even possessing alcohol at this park. And what this will allow our police officers to do is address issues before it becomes a public intoxication issue and allow people to enjoy that park the way it should be enjoyed. So that'll be coming before the council shortly. I've reviewed the verbiage, the proposed verbiage with Dave Burris, and he concurs with it. So again, we'll get it to Garland, and then we'll get it before the council. We discussed revising our fire protection and prevention ordinance, 93.06, new numbering. Check it out on the website. And this, we're looking to revise the ordinance to allow all types of fireworks legal in the state of South Dakota, providing the fire danger is below high and there's no red flag warning in effect. We're going to continue to work on this revision so that it can be completed and thoroughly communicated well in advance of the Independence Day celebration. Right now, our ordinance says you can't shoot fireworks if they go in the air higher than 6 feet. And I don't know if you've noticed Hot Springs during the 4th of July holiday, but somebody's tape measure is broke. Because it's not being followed. It's impossible for our police force to enforce it. And so we're either going to make something enforceable to where if it's safe to shoot it, then have fun, and if it's not safe, then it's going to cost. Next item is a member of the public was present to express concerns over dust on School Street. Since the source of the dust is from an establishment outside the city, There's unfortunately no action that could be taken. Next item, Chief Close provided a summary of police department activities. Items of note include the DARE graduation was Tuesday, November 25th. Certificate for the 5th grade graduates. Chief Close, our DARE officer, Captain Wainman, and 4 of our reserve officers and a state trooper representing Governor Nome, along with Mayor Cotty, were there to award the certificates and acknowledge the graduates for their hard work. And we want to again thank Greg and is it Christy from the Vault for sponsoring the DARE program, and Lynn's Dakota Mart for providing the celebratory root beer floats. On less joyous news, the Ford Taurus is out of service due to continuing unresolved electronic problems. Steve Alexander will be working to place the 2008 Durango back in service. And once the new vehicle is purchased in 2020, the Durango will be used as a backup vehicle. The base information for the Zurcher system that we've been talking about has been completed. So that system will be up and running, it sounds like, hopefully sooner than later in 2020. And lastly, officers are responding to multiple false alarms at a local site, and we're going to be contacting folks there to see what can be done to eliminate the number of false alarms that both our police and fire department have been responding to. And I know I'm going on and on, but I wanted to give just a bit of a call summary for October. In October, our police force responded to 615 calls. 8 of those were accidents. We had 76 animal calls. 53 of those our animal control officer responded to directly. Others that maybe our police officers responded to were mostly noise and barking complaints. We had 5 assaults, 12 agency assists, 4 civil matters, 14 concerned citizens, 1 death, 2 disorderly conduct, 3 drunkenness, 13 drug citations. We had 25 extra patrols, 11 juvenile-related calls, 5 parking complaints, 13 suspicious persons. And that I want to just thank that our citizens are out there paying attention to what's going on in our community. We had 8 traffic complaints and 238 traffic stops, 3 vandalisms, 19 warrants, 16 welfare checks. So the folks have been busy. Our meeting ended at 3 p.m. and our next meeting will be Wednesday, December 18th, 1 p.m. at City Hall. Thanks for letting me go on so long.
Thanks. Good report. Public Works, Bob and Ray.
Public Works didn't meet last week. We had a conflict of events. Governor Nome was scheduled to be in Hot Springs for the first Veterans Bridge renaming dedication. And the time of that, and then the Governor was also scheduled to meet with city officials to discuss a number of issues. And the timing of both of those events would have been pretty much in the middle of the Public Works. So because city folks needed to be available for those events, I postponed the meeting, and the next meeting will be December 10th, 1 o'clock at City Hall.
Okay, thanks. Southern Hills Economic Development, Caitlin.
I'm going to sound like a broken record until our next meeting, so just so you guys can get it down. Friday, January 17th at 6 p.m. at the Red Rock. It'll be our annual meeting and dinner, and you guys will all be invited, so I'm going to keep reminding you until we get there.
Thanks, Caitlin. And the Southern Hills Golf Course Advisory Committee has nothing to report except snow on the golf course. And Volunteer Fire Department, Ron?
Next meeting will be the 10th of December at 7 p.m. at the Hot Springs Volunteer Fire Department.
Okay, thank you. Next item on our agenda is a couple of ordinances. First of all, item A, we have a second reading of ordinance 1204. That's our supplemental appropriation ordinance, read and voted on last meeting. I'd accept the motion to approve ordinance 1204.
I make a motion to approve the second reading ordinance 1204 supplemental appropriation ordinance.
Second.
It would been moved and seconded that we approve the second reading of ordinance 1204. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none, I'd ask Misty if you'd call the roll, please.
Ray Ackerby,
Yes.
Bill Lukens,
Yes?
Bob Nelson,
Yes.
Ron Richards,
Yes.
Allison Ritterbusch,
Yes.
Craig Romy,
Yes.
Caitlin Turner.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That is approved. Also on our agenda tonight is the first reading of ordinance 1205. That's the peddlers, solicitors, and transit merchants and mobile food vendor ordinance that we've been working on amending. And there's a couple of changes that before I ask for a motion that I'd like to bring before the council for you to look at and consider as you make your motion. We did receive a legal review from Garland, and the first item is a minor change on page 1 under the definitions of both peddlers, solicitors, and transient merchants, that we add just the beginning of addition. A peddler is a person, a solicitor is a person, and so forth. Just a minor word change. I think that would make that clear. The second one is on page 3. You'll look on the second line on page 3. It says any peddler who enters upon prevalence was the only intent to make this a crime for peddlers. We also need to include solicitors and transit merchants to that to ensure that those are covered in that statement. Again, that's on page 3, that first paragraph, any peddler, I guess it's B line 1. And then we do have two options or under signs, and I believe that we would most likely want to recommend option 2. Is that correct, Misty?
That's what we discussed today.
You discussed today that option 2, where signs, billboards, and other advertising structures are subject to regulations set forth in Chapter 155 of the zoning code. So other than those changes, we didn't have anything further from legal or discussed today. So I would accept a motion, if it's so desired by the council, to accept the first reading of 1205 with the changes that were listed. You should have a copy of that email in your packages along with the changed ordinance 1205. I'd accept a motion to approve that first reading of that ordinance.
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 1205, an ordinance renaming and revising Title 11, Business Regulations, Chapter 113, Peddlers, Solicitors, Transient Merchants, and Mobile Vendors, and establishing rules and regulations for mobile vendors within the city, with the recommendations from the city's attorney, his first recommendation and second recommendation to be included in the ordinance. And the second option on page 5 for signs, billboards, and other advertising structures with those recommended changes.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve that first reading of 1205 with those changes mentioned. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion?
I want to note that if it takes a village to write an ordinance, that's what we did. It took a lot of, this took a lot of us to come together to put this ordinance together, so I just want to thank everybody that worked on it.
Yes, and it's, John, also, I believe you've checked with one of the merchants. Did you get some feedback?
Yes, I talked to Red Shed about their input on this ordinance. We sent out the ordinance to the mobile food vendors that we have now, to let them review the draft also.
Okay. And we have received some comments from Burnout Pizza.
Right.
And I believe their comments basically were that they did not want to change, they did not want to pay any charges. Any other comments or questions concerning the ordinance? If not, I ask Misty if you would call the roll, please.
Ray Haggerty,
Yes.
Bill Lukens,
Yes.
Bob Nelson,
Yes.
Ron Richards,
Yes.
Allison Ritterbusch,
Yes.
Craig Romey,
Yes.
Caitlin Turner.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the first reading is approved, and again, as Allison mentioned, a lot of people worked on trying to get this thing right, and again, we appreciate all the effort that went into this. Thank you. We have a resolution in front of you, 2019-31. This is the resolution that Misty has worked on, setting fees and charges for services provided by the city of Hot Springs. I would ask for a motion to approve Resolution 2019-31. You do have a copy of those fees in your packages.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2019-31, a citywide fee resolution setting fees and charges for services provided by the City of Hot Springs.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept Resolution 2019-31. Is there any discussion, questions, or comments?
It took a village.
What's that?
It took a village.
Yeah. Well, again, it was a lot of work. I did bring up one question or comment concerning the fuel price at the airport. I would like to have a little more flexibility, but I think the consensus was from the admin finance that the council should control that. I felt based on the volatility, potential volatility of fuel prices, that it would be quicker and easier for the airport manager to set those prices. But I believe the recommendation from the Admin Finance Committee is to pass the resolution as printed. Any comments? Is that the recommendation, Bob?
Yes, your statement's correct.
Any other questions or comments? If not, all those in favor of Resolution 2019-31 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item of new business, we do have some proposals to open to award, first of all, the City of Hot Springs animal boarding contract for 2020. Misty has provided a letter opener and all three and numbered them. So the opening number 1. And this one comes from Fall River Veterinary Clinic. Looks like there are a number of different charges for, depending on the size of dogs, cats and so forth. So we will put this in a pile, and I would like to have Public Safety, the ACO, and our legal review each of the proposals as we look through these. It'd be too hard to go through this tonight and decipher exactly what we're getting. And then these will come before the council at the the December 16th meeting. Next one comes from Battle Mountain Humane Society. And they also have several different things that they would be charging for. So we'll put that in the stack. And the next one is also is from the Battle Mountain, or from Barnyard Veterinary Service and Supply. We do have a letter here, and again, some different charges. So we will also consider these three, and these will be brought before the council at the next meeting. So I would accept a motion to table the discussion and awarding of the animal boarding contract for 2020.
Make a motion to table the contract, boarding contract till the next council meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to table the proposals, to deciding the proposals or wording the proposals for the next animal boarding annual contract. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion?
I have a question, Mayor.
Yes.
In the request for proposal, we asked for the offerer to present a monthly fixed fee billing rate, inclusive of all expenses. From what you have mentioned as you look at them, that doesn't appear to be the case with any of them. Depending on, the size of the animal, so on and so forth.
It just, without going through and really studying and reading them, I can't decipher immediately. That figure wasn't, there's a lot of verbiage that describe what they're intending to do. And so that's why I prefer to let us study it and bring that information and have that information readily available at the next council meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah, our next item is to look at proposals to award the City Hall. Yes.
I don't think we voted on whether we were going to table it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for reminding me. All those in favor of tabling that, avoiding the proposal for the animal boarding contract signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, we are officially tabled. Now we'll open the, I guess I would accept a motion. Let me open these first of all on the City Hall. I guess we'll first get a motion to...
I make a motion to open proposals for the possibility for and possibly award the City Hall's cleaning contract for 2020.
Thank you, Allison. We will open those at this time and decide whether we will accept any of them. Our first one is from Teresa Moss, and again, there's some verbiage here with some background. Does have a charge for services of $358 per month, and I believe that's what we were asking for. Next one is from Black Hills Carpet and Upholstery, Alex Flight. And again, we have some verbiage and a regular price quoted of $1,485. I don't see whether that's, yeah, that's per month. And again, we'll look at the qualifications and exactly what the individual is promised to do.
Mayor Connie?
Yes.
Who's that one from?
That one's from Black Hills Carpet and Upholstery Care. Alex Flight. Our third one is let's see here, that's a letter of Zachariah Preem. And this got some letters of recommendation, again some background, and it looks like the quote is for $1,100 per month. So I would like to, again, table this. I would like to have the city staff and legal review these and make a recommendation to the council. And John, if you could help head that up and ensure that we get everybody together and review these. We'll make a recommendation to the council on the December 16th meeting.
Make a motion to table the cleaning of City Hall until the next meeting.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we table awarding the contracts for cleaning in City Hall until the December 16th meeting. Are there any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried. These will be tabled. Next item of business is the possible motion and discussion to approve the plat of the Bishop Tract. This is the property along the Canton Avenue lots. There is an existing fence line, and we wanted to move that property line to that existing fence line to avoid having to do a substantial amount of rework on the north end of those lots. I'd accept a motion to approve the plat of the Bishop Tract.
Make a motion to approve a plat of Bishop Tract, Tract A revised, Tract B1 revised, Tract B2 revised, and a revised public access and utility easement, all located in Block 19, Stewart's Addition, to the town, now City of Hot Springs, Fall River County, South Dakota.
It's been moved and seconded to approve that plat of the Bishop Tract. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion?
Are we giving away property there just so we don't have to move the fence?
Well, actually, we're just, the property is where the existing yards are. We're moving it back to where the fence is, so there is some property that's being given away. It's a minor amount, but also adjusts the easement where the sewer lines for this Canton property goes through. And also assists us in creating adequate drainage protection for those neighbors that are north of that property, because that property slopes down toward them.
And the city's not giving any property away because that property belongs to Holt Homes.
Yeah.
It belongs to us until they build it. I mean,
No, it doesn't.
away.
We signed a purchase agreement. They do own it.
Yeah, but if they don't build, they're supposed to give it back, right?
Correct.
For the next 4
Yeah.
years.
It's
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
You didn't get a first or second, did you? Bill. I'm sorry, Bill and Ron.
Yes, Bill and Ron.
Sorry.
I'm not reading it.
Are there any, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
We got one opposed. Item D, we have a possible motion and discussion to approve the 2020 Evans Plunge Mineral Springs assignment of a billboard located, this one is south of Maverick Junction on Highway 18385, and that property owners Gary and Sharon Romey. I'd accept a motion to approve that assignment of that lease for the billboard.
Mr. Mayor, I'll be abstaining from that.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the 2020 Evans Plunge Mineral Springs assignment of lease site for billboard located south of Maverick Junction on US Highway 18385 with Gary and Sharon Romey.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve that lease for the billboard. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none, we do have one abstention. Misty, please note. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion carries. We also have a 2020 Evans Plunge lease for another billboard located south of Minnetonka Junction on US 18 with Scott Phillips. I'd accept a motion to approve that assignment of lease for that billboard.
Make a motion to approve the 2020 Evans Plunge Mineral Springs assignment of lease site for billboard located south of Minnetonka Junction on US Highway 18 with Scott Phillips.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve that billboard lease. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The last item in our new business is a possible motion to approve travel and training requests for Officer Austin Chafin to attend the criminal interdiction training in Pierre. And that's at the law enforcement training facility. And that would be in May of 2020.
I'll make a motion to approve the travel and training request for Police Officer Austin Chafin to attend criminal interdiction training in Pierre, South Dakota at the law enforcement training facility from May 3rd, 2020 through May 6th, 2020.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve that training. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving into our Finance Officer report, Misty.
Thank you. Presented to the council is the monthly finance office reports, including the year-to-date profit and loss summary, the fund summary report, cash balance report, and the investment reports. Due to timing, they're not inclusive of the entire month of November, they're just through the 27th. Quick review of the report shows the city on track in most of our funds. In the funds where our revenues have not exceeded our expenditures, we've discussed the reasons for those. If you see anything alarming or raise any questions, please point it out. I would draw your attention once again this month to the position of Evans Plunge. At this time of year, this is the best revenue to expenditure position, with their revenues exceeding expenditures by $110,000. That's awesome, but today their $118,000 loan payment came out. But it's excellent, and I wanted to point that out. The budget to actual also shows many, if not most, of the city funds on target for both revenue collection and expenditures. Those where it exceeds it, we are addressing in the contingency supplemental appropriation ordinance and contingency resolutions still to come. You have the cash balance in the Wells Fargo, which is our main checking account in your reports. And then I note on your investment reports, which include all of the funds of the city by institution and by type, that our total funds have exceeded $6 million, big difference, for the first time since I've been reporting to you. That makes sense since we're saving for some pretty big expenditures. So I'd also highlight the last financial report, which is the CDs that the city has, and make note, as I did in my written report, that the last three CDs on that list, which are all set aside for projects that the city has planned in conjunction with the road project, those were renewed. They are renewed for 11-month terms with Wells Fargo at an interest rate of 1.31. We compared the rates for 12 months at both First Interstate and Bank of the West, which are the other two approved depositories by the city. They were 0.90 for 12 months and 0.10, one at First Interstate, one at Bank of the West. I also checked the rates at First National Bank in Lead and South Dakota Fit. I mentioned in my report and at the admin finance meeting today that I'll be recommending we add South Dakota Fit to our resolution as an approved depository because they were offering 1.34 for liquid money at that time. I think as we get closer to project completion, it may be a benefit to set some of our monies we have set aside into that higher interest-bearing account that's available through SD-FIT. They are organized for municipalities in the state and supported by the Municipal League. If you want any additional information about them before you pass the resolution at the January 1st meeting, adding them as the official depository, please let me know and I'd be happy to share it. We are looking to finalize and wrap up 2019 expenses. There's an expectation that purchasing is restricted to emergency purchases only after the last claim batch for the year, which will be the December 16th meeting. As claim reviewers and approvers, you can expect to see the payment of 2019 payables for the first couple months in 2020. We keep those separate in our accounting software, so you'll have an extra batch to approve when you review your claims. We expect those within 30 days, but historically it extends a bit further. There is a time when we have to draw a line in the sand, so that's why we slow down spending at the end of the year to hopefully allow us to get those all those bills paid within the first couple months of next year. We also collect receivables for 2019 into the first couple months of 2020. We talked a little bit about airport haying. That would be something we list as a receivable if we didn't receive it by the end of the year. Accrual-based accounting, which is what we use, requires that we recognize both revenue and expenditures in the year in which the object or service was received or obtained. This creates a number of journal entries required to post the effects of payables, receivables, and accruals for many of our financial transactions, including payroll, leave accruals, loans, assessments, payables, receivables, etc., to provide a snapshot of the city's financial position as of the end of the year. You'll hear more about these reports and transactions as we prepare for the 2019 annual report and financial statements. We talked about the proposals for cleaning and animal boarding and open those. Those will be on the next agenda. We'll provide copies of what was proposed for council review and then recommendation from each of those groups. Bob talked a little bit in his report about the upcoming resolutions we passed at the beginning of the year. I'm excited to announce that today we received notice from the Star that they were handing over their ability to provide local news to the Herald, and we planned on appointing the Herald as our legal official newspaper at the beginning of the year, whether that happened or not. So we're really excited to get that announcement and excited to be working with the Herald again as our legal official newspaper. Talked a little bit about the last supplemental appropriation ordinance, and I have some notes about an unbudgeted expense that had come up since we passed that, and it sounds like we might have something else that we have to deal with the library and their heating system. We do have time to apply contingency and a little bit left in there if we need to help supplement their budget for those unplanned and unbudgeted expenses. The other one is related to some radios that the police department purchased, but with the radios, we do have a 100% reimbursable grant that'll pay us back for those, so it's just the timing of how that will work. Our social media coordinator, Justin Gausman, and I got together and worked on the city website. As I mentioned before, and Bob mentioned, if you identify any issues with any broken links or inaccurate information or trouble navigating, please share. We're open to hear that. We spent some time removing the old links to the PDF ordinances and creating the new link to our new codified ordinances hosted on the American Legal website. We also went through and changed text references to our ordinances. There's still a lot of forms that we're going to need to update that are linked, and those are primarily located in the development coordinator pages. So Scott and I will be sitting down on December 5th and start clicking away and getting some of those updated. So happy that the citywide fee resolution is at least before you. The real work comes once we get that passed, published, and effective, to ensure that the whole reason for it was to make sure that we establish and set in one easy to locate place all the fees that the city charges, and then the next big step will be making sure that we fairly and consistently apply those charges as approved by our council in each of those locations where they're applicable. These types of discussions are never easy. You heard many committee reports over the last 3 to 5 months talking about visiting about the fees and getting feedback from both users and interested parties in the council. They were necessary conversations, and I really want to thank everybody who's a part of the fee review process. I really appreciate the involvement and the professionalism in the discussions that we had, and I look forward to the last one, which is the plunge and their recommendations for fees, and I'm sure that your conversations will go similar. So thank you for taking the time to do that. It meant a lot, and hopefully it makes it a lot easier for the city and our departments and our community to know. At the next council meeting, we'll be addressing the annual subsidy transfer from our 212 additional sales tax fund to both Evans Plunge and the golf course. Projected and budgeted subsidies were $113,430 to the golf course and $75,315 to Evans Plunge. Both funds are on track to need less than the total amount budgeted, which is a positive thing. And more to come on that at the next meeting as we determine those amounts. I wanted to let the council know that the street department chose not to purchase the 2002 International dump truck that was approved at the last council meeting and included in the final appropriation ordinance. They're currently seeking an alternative in a similar price range. If they're unable to utilize the additional budgeted funds for 2019, you'll most likely see a similar request in 2020, as that is a vital piece of equipment and they are looking to replace it. As this year comes to a close, I'd like to take a moment to thank those of you involved in the business of our city. The work that you all do is invaluable, and you certainly don't get paid enough or receive near enough praise for all the work that you put in. I appreciate each of you and want you to know that it's both an honor and a privilege to work beside you and for the city of Hot Springs and the betterment of our community. I'm grateful for the awesome team that I'm part of, and I'm proud of the work that we've done in 2019, and I look forward to another great year of growth for the city in 2020. And as a final reminder, we'll be closed Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, December 23rd through the 25th in observance of the Christmas holiday. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Misty. And please pass our appreciation on to Justin for the work on the website. Things are sure looking a lot better there. John, our city administrator, report, please.
Good evening, everyone. It's been a busy 2 weeks getting everything ready for this evaluation of the South Dakota requirement items for the $2.8 million funding for our suspended sidewalk component and the improvement of our downtown as part of the Highway 385-18 improvements. A lot of that work was crunching numbers for a 25-year life cycle cost estimate, looking at all the different components of a 37-year-old bridge and VSL mechanically stabilized earth wall, complex design. Looking at that and also looking at the roadway itself on University Avenue, it was concluded that the bridges themselves would be a very large liability over time, and the replacement cost is very high, even in today's dollars, in the 10 to 12 million range. All these items were prepared for the discussion with Governor Nome, who did make the trip here, but was kind enough to meet us with a telephone conference. And the mayor was able to present the summary of what we'd uncovered with the bridge evaluation and the road evaluation. He was also able to talk about the affordable worker housing progress and the safety of VA. The governor seemed very receptive to the needs of Hot Springs and seemed enthusiastic about our progress. The fact that we were working together with the other committees involved. Also been busy with the fee resolution, working with the different groups, airport, planning and zoning, and building department, getting those last items resolved. Participating with meetings with the different city committees, public works and public safety, airport advisory, library, the admin, finance, and the chamber. It's very good to see that all of our city works together so well, and everybody's concerned about growth within our city, keeping things moving along. Our street department and utilities departments have been very busy with their projects. Public Works has got the big wet well project underway. I met with the contractor, Dean Kurtz, and the engineer, Mike Albertson, last week about the reconstruction of the wet well structure. Closing, I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving and not had too much snow trouble. I personally like the snow. Probably named after I've been here a year. But many thanks to our street department for clearing away the snow accumulations. They began this morning at 2 a.m. I know because they woke me up. It's going to be a very busy Christmas weekend coming up. We've got Christmas in the Hills, the Cookie Cruise, many benefit dinners and meals provided by churches. The middle school has a chili dinner, the Rotary Brats thing. We've got the parade, the visit from Santa. When this Baumgart's grand opening event begins December 5th and runs through the 7th. You got to see their big specials they're going to have. And I encourage everyone to get out and enjoy the milder weather this week. Shop local, and share the gift of giving this season. Thank you.
Thank you, John. As far as my report goes, again, we had the danger of losing our title as Banana Belt of the Black Hills with Governor Nome because she couldn't make it in due to the weather, but again, very fortunate that we were able to hold that teleconference. I appreciate, John, your summary of that. Again, we were able to discuss items concerning the Highway 18385 construction. We reviewed the work done by the city on workforce housing, both the status of the Canton Avenue lots and also the 26 Water Avenues, because the state does have some lots up there and some interest in providing housing for the state home. We also had an opportunity to express our concerns about the reduction in hours at the Hot Springs VA and what that could mean in the future. One of the things that really encouraged me, Governor Nome, very, very supportive of keeping the veterans operation going full speed here in Hot Springs. She has a real support for our VA. She has a desire to have Secretary Wilkie come out and visit our campus here at Hot Springs because she feels that we have a good story to tell. And not only by the facilities that we have here and the opportunities, but also because of the community. We have a community that is a healing community and a very supportive community for the VA, and that kind of support you just don't find in a major urban area. So we're excited. In fact, one of the things that I did today was send a letter off to Senator Round's office reiterating the need to have the Secretary Wilkie come here and visit Hot Springs. And we felt that Senator Rounds has got a lot of influence to that since he's on the Veterans Affairs Committee that oversees Secretary Wilkie's budget. So we're hoping that that visit will take place somewhere in the near future. I know Governor Nome could not make the DARE graduation, but that went extremely well, and I want to compliment Captain Wainman for an outstanding job. I guess if Governor Nome were here, she'd probably say, "DARE, we're on it." And we are on it. The kids were excited. It was exciting to hear the essays and a testimony to the fact that our police department's making an investment in the youth, and that's an investment that hopefully will pay off great dividends in the long run. We're in the process of negotiating with South Dakota DOT concerning the Highway 18 385 construction and the acceptance of $2.8 million they've promised. We've got some items that need to be clarified. Once those we hear back from South Dakota DOT, Bob will be bringing those to Public Works for review, and then they'll be coming to the council for final approval. So it's not that we're trying we want to make sure we've got all of our ducks in order before we come to the council with what DOT is willing to agree with. And we feel that, again, as a result of the telephone conversation with Governor Nome, we have her support for what we're trying to do here in Hot Springs. And John, I want to thank you, the city administrator, our public works engineer Tracy, and Billy Morrow, our maintenance superintendent, for the real hard work that you did in gathering facts so that we can make a decision that's based on engineering facts and judgment. And finally, congratulations to the Hot Springs, now the Fall River Herald Star, is it, Brett?
Yes.
We appreciate the job that you've done at the Herald, and we're just glad to be able to not to have a dilemma of having to select a newspaper for next year, and between two newspapers. So congratulations, and we look forward to working with you. I know you've done an outstanding job with the Herald, so thank you. With that said, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn. I'll second that.
I think we've got a majority with the motions. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the motion carries.